All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This one's for me and for a lot of you, but I want to watch this, so let's do it. We're gonna do some Michael Jordan content. So from Scap Attack, thank you as always, Scap Attack. Hope I'm sending you some traffic. Let's watch 90's reign, which was Michael Jordan's world, how one man owned the 90's. All right, here we go.
The GOAT, greatest player of all time. A debate which has been percolating around various NBA hot stoves for the better part of 60 years. And generally the individuals who owned each decade, beginning in the 1960s and running all the way until today, are the players most commonly found in these top 10 conversations and GOAT debates. But who are the GOATs of each decade, and how thoroughly did they dominate their specific eras? In most cases, many if not all decades are up for some kind of debate. Was it the individual dominance of Wilt, or the leadership and winning of Russell that ruled the 1960s?
This is gonna be fun because we all know LeBron didn't dominate an era. Magic and Bird shared an era in the 80's. MJ dominated in the 90's. 2000s was shared by the Spurs and the Lakers. And yeah, after that, it's been the Golden State Warriors.
And while Kareem was the greatest individual of the 70s, he hardly produced a stranglehold on the league, winning only 2 titles in that 10-year span that were separated by 9 years in between. While the 80s
Dude, so he
were
won
a
3
pure
with Magic,
coin
huh?
toss between Bird and Magic, and even
Yep.
more recent decades lack the separation many may think. In really only one obvious case can you say a player declaratively and singularly owned an entire decade.
Yes,
Not
sir.
surprisingly, that player was Michael Jordan, and that
Michael
decade
Jeffrey.
was that of the 1990s. While Jordan predictably did not distance himself from a stat accrual standpoint here, as his 15,261 total points scored during this 10-year span doesn't even rank in the top 15 all time for highest scoring decades. In fact, it isn't even
Well, he missed a year and a half out of there, plus 2 more years. So he missed 3.5 years out of there. Yeah, because of those retirements.
the highest total of that decade, as Karl Malone scored well over 5,000 more points than Jordan during the 90s. And during that 10-year
makes sense.
span, few filled up a stat sheet like the mailman, delivering per game averages of 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block per night.
And people act like Jordan didn't face any good players. People just don't talk about Karl Malone because I mean he didn't win the ring. You know, he went to 3 NBA championships, if I'm not mistaken. His first 2 with a good team was Utah. Jordan beat him both times, and the last time was with that stacked but convoluted Lakers team with Gary Payton and Kobe and Shaq and all those guys, and they lost too to what, the Pistons? Yeah, poor guy went 0 for 3.
Night for this decade. Malone was named an All-Star every season of the 90s, while being named first-team All-NBA 9 times, with 1 second-team All-NBA selection sprinkled in, and adding 3 first-team defensive selections as well. Malone did all of this while missing only 3 total games during the entire decade, producing
It's
a resume
ridiculous.
that should
Missing 3 games in the entire and for 10 years, right? I was just looking up because I was arguing with somebody in the comment section of one of my videos, and Ron in the last 5 years has missed 98 games, but we're talking 10 years, and Malone missed, what do you say, 3 games? I think it was 3 games. Little difference in the toughness of eras. And people say somebody was arguing me in there saying like, "Oh, it's not load management. LeBron had like serious injuries every time." Get the fuck out of here.
place him at the very top of any GOAT list, not just the 90s. However, there was one all-important thing noticeably absent from Malone's resume during not only this decade of the 90s, but for his entire NBA career. Yes, of course, Malone failed to capture even a single NBA title during this 10-year span. And of course, the 90s ushered in the golden era of the big man, as joining Malone was Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, all rising to prominence in the late 80s through 90s. All of these players to this day a fixture in NBA all-time top 50 to 75 rankings.
Hakeem Olajuwon hit his peak in the 90s too.
But there was one legend right in the middle of
it
all that was arguably
Good
better
job.
than them all, even if he was only a dream. And while Hakeem Olajuwon's true prime ended before the decade of the 90s concluded, he produced arguably the best playoff run in NBA history, beginning with the 1993-94 season. A season where he was first-team All-NBA, first-team All-NBA defense, league MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year, while winning the championship and being named Finals MVP.
I mean, we want to talk about pure dominance that year. Hakeem did it.
The list of other players to accomplish that in one season includes no one. In the playoffs that season, he beat the 47-win Portland Trailblazers in the first round, led by Clyde Drexler. In the second round, it was 56-win Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I remember that. He broke the hearts of Barkley's sons, and before that, Jordan did it. That was tough times. It's been being a Suns fan since I was a kid, guys. It's been rough.
By Charles Barkley, and into the Western Conference Finals, it was the Stockton and Malone Utah Jazz before beating the Patrick Ewing Knicks in the finals. Houston's second best player on this team was Otis Thorpe, who averaged 14 points per game and made one career All-Star appearance in his 19-year career. Simply put, this is one of the most ludicrous playoff runs ever when factoring in the competition and his supporting cast. And after the Houston Rockets would win only 47 games the following season and finish as just the 6th seed in the Western Conference playoffs, Hakeem would go full-on legend in the 1995 playoffs, beating the 60-win Stockton and two-time league MVP Karl Malone Utah Jazz in the first round. Yes, a 60-win opponent in round one. And in the second round, it was the 59-win former league MVP Charles Barkley's Suns before getting into the Western Conference.
Guys, those Suns were so good. I mean, we had Kevin Johnson, Charles Barkley in his prime, Tom Chambers, Cedric Sabonis. I'm missing somebody really big here. Danny Ainge, Dan Marley. Like, we were stacked. We were stacked.
Conference Finals and facing off with the 62-win San Antonio Spurs, led by that season's league MVP, David Robinson. Once Hakeem cleared these hurdles, waiting for him in the NBA Finals was future league MVP Shaquille O'Neal, and Hakeem would dominate this Magic team and Shaquille O'Neal in the NBA Finals, sweeping them 4 games to none. 4 rounds, 4 league MVPs, and a collective winning percentage of his 4 opponents of 73%, the highest faced by any champion in NBA history. Hakeem is one of the very greatest full-court players in basketball history, and for the decade of the 90s, he averaged 23 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and nearly 2 steals.
Damn. Yeah, that was a real man.
And joining Hakeem were other great players and teams throughout this decade, from Charles Barkley and his Suns squads, to the aforementioned Stockton and Malone Utah Jazz,
that duo was
loaded
fantastic.
Seattle Supersonics, led by Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, that averaged 60 wins per season for 6 consecutive years in the middle of the 90s, and even that meteoric rise of the Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway Magic in the middle portion of the decade. And none of them won shit during the 90s, thanks to one player. And as great as many others were during this decade, anything they accomplished during the 90s pales in comparison to the one and only Michael Jordan. Yes, he didn't lead this decade in total points scored, but that is, of course, because Jordan played only 6 full seasons of the 10 years
Yeah,
within
six and a
this
half
decade,
years.
retiring for the entirety of the 1993-94 season and the vast majority of the 94-95 season before retiring again at the end of the 97-98 season.
Anybody else out there have any baseball cards of Michael Jordan? So I got one on my wall here. I got a couple actually.
And sitting out the last 2 years of the 90s. But during the 6 full seasons he played, Jordan led the decade in points per game at 30.3, which is
Just hold on. I mean, just imagine this, everybody. Jordan played 6 full seasons in the 90s. Okay? He won 6 championships in those 6 years. So in his prime, every year that he played a full season, he won a freaking ring. What else is dominance? Define dominance. I dare you.
over 3.5 points per game more than Karl Malone during this decade, while
Whoops.
being named All-NBA First Team and First Team Defense all 6 years. So Jordan was the best player at his position on both sides of the floor for the 90s, while scoring at a substantially higher rate than anyone else, leading the league in scoring all 6 years. And of course, most importantly, he won at an absurd level, as he went to 6 finals in those 6 seasons he played, winning all 6 of them. There is no conversation to be had here. No.
And people give him crap about the year that he came back at the very end of the season. I think it was like 15 games before the playoff starts, and he had a baseball body, out of shape, all that. They give him crap because they didn't beat the Orlando Magic. Like the best year the Magic ever had. That's the one where Hakeem and the Rockets swept them. But you know, they give him crap about that one quarter of a season that he played, fresh off of retirement. But where the hell is the argument? I mean, the fact is, he played 6 full seasons in the 90s and won 6 freaking rings.
No close calls or coin tosses. What Jordan did in that decade of the 90s was the most complete and thorough domination by any player in any era of basketball history, which is why, to many, Jordan stands heads and shoulders above everyone else, even on basketball's Mount Rushmore. And while that does conclude our look at the 90s, make sure to subscribe and tune in for the next episode of The GOAT by Decades, when we take a look at an absolutely stacked decade with a multitude of top 10 to 15 all-time players, the 2000s. Until next time.
I'm there for that, bud. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Give Scap some love. I am going...
The GOAT.
I'm going to be giving him a like. Already got him a subscribe. Yeah, I'm going to link the original video down below as always. If you wouldn't mind me a like and a subscribe, and throw some comments in the comment section down below, I'd appreciate that. What do you guys think? Put it in the comment section. Have you ever heard of any person in any sport dominating an era the same way Michael Jordan dominated the 90s? All right, let's see what you got. Let's battle it down below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.